Hi guys, this is Marvin. Welcome back to my channel. If today is the first time of stopping by, you're most definitely welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back once again. So I've been receiving a lot of messages concerning how to show proof of funds. So today I've decided to, come on here and share my opinion on some of the questions that I receive on a daily concerning proof of funds. So stick and stay and let's get straight into the video. So to begin with, I want to state clearly that I am not an immigration consultant. I am just here to share my opinions and views on this and based on my experiences and the experiences of others. So yeah. So the first question is, who can sponsor you? So this is a very important one. Firstly, I would say anybody can sponsor you, right from your father, your mother, your siblings, uncles, aunties, even your boss at work can sponsor you. But you don't only just state it, you need to prove it, you need to show why do they want to sponsor you. How is this person related to you? When did this person get to know you? What is the motivation behind them sponsoring you? All those things, all those boxes must be ticked, so you don't just put it there that maybe it's your boss that is sponsoring you, right? But personally, I feel getting sponsorship from family is up there, right? Because family is closer to you, and in that way, at least you guys are linked, by blood, and in that way, it makes sense if your father wants to sponsor you or your uncle or auntie wants to sponsor you. In that way it makes more sense. But even if it's not a family member who is sponsoring and it's even a friend or your boss at work or your company sponsoring you, you need to show proof as to why they are sponsoring you. For instance, somebody asked me a question about their company sponsoring, the best worker of the year or something like that. And he's like, how is it supposed to show that? And I'm like, so if it's something that is already there, it's in the laws of the company, you have to show, a document or documentation that proves that there's actually this clause that states that, the best worker for the past maybe 4 years or 5 years gets sponsorship to study abroad, all those things. If there's an award, that's been given to you, you need to, show it. If there's a certificate, you need to show it as proof, right? So you don't just say it, but everything you say must be backed. And the company, in his case too, the company should write out a letter, or the MD or the CEO should write a letter which states that it's actually true and that the company does this every now and then, and now is sponsoring Mr. So and so due to maybe his good work ethics or his efficiency and effectiveness when it comes to work related issues, all of that. So everything must have proof, right? So the next question is, how much do you need to show on your bank statement? So a lot of times people make this mistake, right? For instance, according to the Canada website or IRCC, you are supposed to show your first year tuition and then your living expenses for a year, right? Which in my case was 10,000 Canadian dollars for the year. So for instance, if let's say my tuition fees for the first year is 20,000 Canadian dollars and I add the living expenses of 10,000 Canadian dollars, making 30,000 Canadian dollars, and I say my dad is the one sponsoring me or my mom is the one sponsoring me, and I've also mentioned that I have other siblings, let's say I have two other siblings, and in the bank statement, the money in the bank statement is maybe 31,000 Canadian dollars. It doesn't make sense, because it means I'm taking 30,000 Canadian dollars. It means that there's only 1,000 Canadian dollars left behind for my parents and my siblings. How are they going to depend on just 1,000 Canadian dollars? It doesn't make sense. So always make sure the account is in excess, or whoever is going to sponsor you has like excess money, in that when you even subtract your money or the amount of money that is being spent on you from the bank statement, there is still a chunk of money left in there for them to be able to take care of themselves. It's different if you are sponsoring yourself, right? And let's say your first year tuition and your living expenses amounts to 30,000 Canadian dollars, and in your account you have 31,000 Canadian dollars or 32,000 Canadian dollars. And even that, mind you, you are flying yourself in, so you also need to factor your plane tickets as well. So at least give a gap, right? It shouldn't be the exact figure. That if your first year living expenses and tuition is 30,000, your account should be maybe 30,000 on the dot, 31,000, 32,000. It should be like in excess, right? And can you have two sponsors? Yeah, you can have two sponsors. You can have multiple sponsors, right? So people end up, maybe if they can only generate half of the money or show half of the money, they can also get an extra sponsor who can add up to make up the entire amount. So yeah, you can have multiple sponsors. So let's say if you've been working yourself and you want to sponsor yourself, but you are unable to prove the whole amount that you'll be needing, and your dad is there, your siblings are there, they can also be that extra sponsor to sponsor you. And in this case, you need, when you're writing your letter of explanation, you need to state it clearly in there that you have some of the money, and then maybe another person, maybe your dad or your sibling or an auntie or an uncle is also going to sponsor you with some of the money as well. So all of these things, once you need to mention them in your letter of explanation, mention them like clearly in your letter of explanation that is understandable. And then once your sponsor is also writing his or her sponsorship letter, he or she has to also state it clearly in there so that it makes sense, right? The next question is, what if there are large deposits in the bank account from recent months, days or weeks? What do you do? So if there are large deposits, depending on the kind of work your sponsor does or is involved in, all these things must be stated. So in your letter of explanation, you state that the reasons why there may be lump sums of money being deposited in his account, right? Because maybe he does so and so business. You have to state it in there. And then when your sponsor is also writing his sponsorship letter, he also has to state it in there that maybe he does business on a daily, so he receives huge sums of money weekly for him to be able to purchase goods and services, all those kind of things. So in his sponsorship letter as well, that has to be stated clearly in the sponsorship letter. The next question is it necessary to show property documents also as proof of funds? I'll say yes, is very necessary to show, even though it's not compulsory, but it's necessary if you have them, right? Because this is the reason why I say so. For instance, if you've shown your bank statement, maybe your bank statement has a lot of money that is able to, take care of your studies and you're living here in Canada. What if that bank statement, something happens to the bank, or your money gets blocked or something like that, right? If you've shown property documents, maybe landed property or company buildings or rental apartments, all those things, if you've shown proof that those things are available, it means that maybe if I am the visa officer, it will clearly convince me that this person has shown his or her bank statement and the money in there is quite okay, and the person has added landed property and property documents as well. It means that anytime there's an issue with the bank statement, or there's an issue with the bank and maybe getting money from the bank, there's always a physical property, or there's something physical that has value that in worst case scenarios it can be sold to generate money. So it's also necessary. It's not mandatory, but it's necessary. If you have them, add it to it. And the next question is, what appears on the sponsorship letter? So with a sponsorship letter, your sponsor must clearly state your name, the kind of relationship he or she has with the ward or whoever is the student, whoever is coming to Canada to study, the school in which the person is coming to study in, the kind of program the person is coming to study, the length of the program, and the amount of tuition, the whole tuition fees involved in this education, and the living expenses as well. The living expenses is stated in the Canadian website, so you can just pick it from there and then add it to it. So all these things must be stated clearly in it, and then your sponsor must also state why he or she wants to sponsor you, or why he or she is interested in your education, for them to be spending so much money on your education. If he or she is the one taking care of your flight, it must also be stated clearly in there that he is also going to take care of your flight, and all of that. And maybe give extra reasons that as the ward or the student is going to is going to benefit the family or the establishment or the nation as a whole, in that he or she is going to acquire knowledge and then bring back to their home country, and in turn it will be beneficial for the whole country. So these are some of the things that must be found on a sponsorship letter, and it has to be signed by your sponsor as well. The next question: can you add bonds or treasury bills as proof of funds? Yeah, you can. So if you have a bond or a treasury bill with the bank, all you need to do is go to the bank and ask them. I'm sure they will get you I don't know if it's your contributions, but there's always a documentation for those things. So you can go to the bank and explain to them, and I'm sure they'll give you a document that shows that you are having bonds, or you are doing bonds, or you are having treasury bills with this so and so establishment, and then they'll give you that document, and then you can add it to your proof of funds uploads, right? The next question is it necessary to pay tuition fees and add the receipt as part of your proof of funds. So right now it's not mandatory, right, to pay your fees before you apply for a study permit. It's not mandatory, but what I would say is if you can pay some, or if you have the strength to pay all, very good, then you just pay all of it and add the receipts to your as part of your proof of funds. It's not mandatory, like I said, it's not mandatory, but I mean, if you can, go ahead and do it. You don't even have to pay all of it or even half. If it's even a quarter, you can pay, at least pay something. It's not mandatory, but if you can, pay something and then get a receipt and add it to your as part of your proof of funds. And the last question here is, okay, this is not a question. So the last thing I'll talk about is anything mentioned by your sponsor, right, on the sponsorship letter must be shown as part of your proof of funds. Like, there should be a document showing. So if he has said that he has a bank statement to show, the amount of money he has, that bank statement must be part of your proof of funds, right? It must show in your proof of funds. If he has made mention of the number of, maybe he has 2 cars or 3 cars, those car documents must be shown as part of your proof of funds. If he owns a business or a company, the company documents or registration of certificate of registration, his tax payment, all of those things must be shown as part of your proof of funds. If he has stated in the sponsorship letter that he has landed property, those documents must be shown as part of your proof of funds. If he has made mention that he has apartments he gives out for rent, there should be a document that shows that, maybe he has tenancy agreements documents or even ownership documents of those properties, as part of your proof of funds. So anything at all that the sponsor mentions in the sponsorship letter must be shown as part of your proof of funds. If your sponsor is working, he's working, like, let's say, in an establishment, and he has shown maybe his employment letter, he must also show pay slips, right, as part of your proof of funds, right? So if you are also sponsoring yourself and you happen to be working in an establishment, you must show pay slips of maybe your past 3 or 4 months, and also get an introductory letter from your current company as well. So I hope I was able to answer these questions properly, and you are satisfied with the kind of responses I gave. So I'll end it here, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do all to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to like, comment and share my videos if you find them useful. See you soon and have a nice day.